Hi everyone, let's start with problem 7.9. The phenotype of an early stage human embryo is considered sexually indifferent. Explain why this is so, even though the embryo's genotypic sex is already fixed. Okay, so remember we went over in class that after conception, after about 5 weeks, so we're going to have an embryo that looks something like this. So this is going to look a little bit, well, the shape is going to be a little bit like the diagram in our notes in the PowerPoint slides. Sort of, but we have the head up here. This is what I'm assuming is the head. But the important part is we're going to have these two structures, and I can imagine having to identify these in an early stage embryo. It must be really hard. But these little structures right here are going to be called the genital ridges, and they have another name. And the other name is gonadial ridges. Now, so at 5 weeks, the early stage human embryo is going to look something like that, and the genital ridges and the gonadial ridges, same thing, are important. There are two of them. And at this point, so we're going to develop from these ridges these structures called the medullae and the cortexes will develop. So each one has a medulla and each one has a cortex. So next, what can happen now? So at this point, the ridges here, they're waiting, or the medullae is waiting for a signal. So some signal, and we know now that that signal is going to come from the SRY gene on the Y chromosome. Not directly, so the SRY is going to activate some things, and then we're going to end up with producing the signal that is going to trigger the medullae to develop into testes. And then the testes will make sorts of make testosterone, and the testosterone will do some things, but when the testes start being produced, we will actually inhibit the formation of ovaries from the cortexes. So in the absence of this signal from SRY, the cortexes will develop into ovaries. So the cortex is developing into ovaries, well, that's the default situation. So there's no signal, there's no SRY, or SRY is mutated, the cortexes will develop into ovaries. So that's the default condition. So the point here is that up until 5 weeks, it doesn't matter if the embryo is genotypically XX or XY. It doesn't matter. Scientists can't tell the difference between the embryos up until 5 weeks. And then after 5 weeks, if the Y chromosome is present, SRY will produce that signal that eventually leads to triggering the medullae to develop into testes. Okay, and that is why the phenotype of an early stage human embryo is considered sexually indifferent.